Hey guys, so what I wanted to do is show you how you can use a test kit to test your soil at home. So you can find these test kits online for relatively cheap. Obviously, this is a Luster Leaf Rapid Soil Test Kit. They are not the same. You won't get the same information as if you went out and sent this out to a laboratory, right, or got a more advanced soil testing. But for most applications just at the home, these will work fairly well, and it'll just give you some information, right? So what this will tell us is pH, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, right? That NPK, those three important macronutrients. And it actually has a surprising amount of information that it provides, right? So for each of these, I'll show you how these work, right? But you'll test pH, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And while it doesn't give you values in terms of numbers, right, of how much nitrogen is in your soil, it does give you whether it's depleted, deficient, adequate, sufficient, or if there's surplus. And it comes with a little reference chart. So if you do get one of those values, it will provide recommendations for fertilizing, right? So if we were deficient in nitrogen, and we tested our soil prior to planting, it provides us in terms of how many ounces of a particular nitrogen fertilizer we'd want to apply per 100 square feet of our field or garden. Right, so for garden work, I think it's pretty handy to have. It does the same thing if we were taking this test after, and it does break it down by what you're growing. So flowers, shrubs, veggies, etc. So for a relatively cheap item, it gives you some good information, and it does the same stuff for raising the pH as well. I think it's on here, maybe on this side. Yeah, it also tells you depending on your type of soil. So one of the things I didn't mention in the lecture is that your pH, how much limestone you need to add to your soil or how much your pH will shift does depend on your soil texture. So it varies whether it's a sandy texture, loamy, or clay. And this, if we look here and we see that there is a deficiency in our pH, or rather our pH is too acidic, it does tell you how to raise it up, how much limestone you need to add per 100 square feet, right? And I believe this has it listed in pounds, right? So again, a little nifty thing for you guys to have. Provides a pretty decent amount of information for a relatively cheap test. So let's show you how to use it. Each of our tests has a specific little, whatever you would call this, container, right? And the three of our nutrients, we do the same thing. pH is slightly different. So if you can see on this pH test, there is a line down here that says soil fill line. So what you're going to do is you're going to add a little bit of your soil till it reaches that line. It's about right there. So in this case, I'm just using our potting, our soilless mix. So that's actually a little bit too much I added. Oh, whoops. So it's definitely not a lot. That's close enough. All right, so you fill up to your soil line, and then you fill up. There's another line that says fill with water right there. So it comes with a little dropper. And you're going to take that, and you're going to fill up until you get to that top line. Looks like it's about 3 dropperfuls. Just one little more. All right, so do that. Leave our dropper in here. And then the next step is you are going to add a pill to it, right? So these pills come with the kit, and they are color-coded, right, for each different test. Although this is a bit of an old kit, so it looks like they're getting a little, they're looking a little rough, so we'll see if it works. But what you would do then is notice green top, you would take the green pill, take it, it will open, there's a little gap in it that it should slide right out. And actually, let me see this real quick. Put that in. Oh, I should have poured this powder in before adding the water. Whoops. Let's see if it'll still work. So this can be a bit of a pain to get out. But if you are gentle with it, you can pull the pill pieces apart and dump the contents in. Right, dump the contents in. Oops, broke that in half. It's all right. So once that's dumped in, you then close it. And shake thoroughly. And that's good. All right. So you shake it, and then you let it sit for about a minute. So we're going to let it sit for a little bit while we do the other ones. So for these other guys, it is a slightly different methodology that you use. So you fill a container with soil and water first. So it's 1 part soil to 5 parts water. So whatever measurement you did, I just did a tablespoon of soil to 5 tablespoons of water. And then you are going to let this sit for a while. So anywhere from 30 minutes to 24 hours. So I let mine sit for 30 minutes. And now you are going to ready to use the test. So we'll start with potassium here. So you select your container. It says it right on the front. You select your color-coded pills. Then you're going to pop this thing open. And you fill both the test chambers and the reference chambers to this line. So it's going to take a little bit of time here. But okay, so they are all filled. Next step is we do just what we did for the pH. Right, we take let's make sure we have these in the proper color-coded as we need to be. And now we filled up both the test chamber, which is a smaller chamber, and the reference chamber. The reference is really just to help us better see if there is a difference in that test chamber. So we now are going to apply the chemicals in each one. Right, so again, we take it and it's looking, this is an old kit, so these might just break apart, which it seems like it's going. But these ideally just pop apart, and then you pour your contents into the chamber. Like so. Toss that. And then, just like with the pH, put your cap on. And shake it. Right, and then you allow this to sit for about 10 minutes. And while we do that, we will get to this one. These look like they're in a little bit better shape. Wonder why. So again, you can just pull these right apart. Dump it right on in. Lump it in there. Give it a good shake. And then let it sit. See if it develops. And then we'll do our last one. These look, maybe they got wet or something. These look crazy. I think I'm just going to break this in half. Yep. Oh, it's just solid. So these are just solid. Well, I'll just drop the whole damn thing in there. So that one might not work. This is a older kit, so as a little tip, these will not last forever. But maybe we'll see something. It'll be too dark now. So you drop it in, and we're gonna shake it up and let it sit. And I'll need to get new ones of these. So while we wait, clean up, and then in a couple minutes we'll take a look at the results. All right. Okay, so it's been about 10 minutes. Let's take a look at our results. Now, ideally, you want to do this in the daylight, right? It's a little hard, it's a little dark to see in here. But if you kind of hold it up by the light, it looks like, and what you're doing here is you're comparing colors, right? So you now have a color in your, I'm not sure if you can see that, but you have a color in your test chamber, and you're going to compare it to the colors that are listed on the chart here that's found on your chamber. And you try and match up the colors as close as possible. So if we're looking up here, it looks like this matches up with about a pH of 7.0. So this would be a neutral soil that we have, which is good, right? It might lean a little bit towards acidic, which would be even better, right? So there, if we did that, you did that, tested your soil, your pH is fine. You wouldn't have to do any sort of adjustments there. Now, if we look at our nutrients that we see here, it's going to be hard to match up. It doesn't look, at least for this one. Now, again, it could be because all this stuff is old. But we don't have much of a color change here, so I would say maybe there's a little bit. So this would be classified as a depleted for nitrogen, so we definitely would need to add some sort of fertilizer with nitrogen. For potassium, again, it looks depleted. I want to say it's because this stuff is old. And actually, phosphorus has a color, but I'm not sure if it's just because I dropped that whole pill in there. Because phosphorus looks, at least according to this, adequate. So again, I wouldn't trust this per se. This is a little bit old. I would want a newer test kit, which I'm actually going to buy. But you guys get the idea of how it works. You would look at all the stuff. If it is deficient, then say we were deficient in nitrogen and potassium, we would know we want to try and find a fertilizer or combination of fertilizers that would increase these values. And if we were doing this in a field, we could look at this reference here to provide us with how much to apply, or you could look online for stuff there as well. So that's it. Just a little demonstration for you guys. Sorry it didn't work out quite as well as I wanted, but you get the gist.